the jobs market had a tough year in 2025, which has seen a wave of layoffs across U.S. employers driven by several interrelated factors reshaping corporate labor strategies. A core reason is falling demand for goods and services, as many companies report weakening consumer demand, slowing orders, and a general economic slowdown. As demand shrinks, firms respond by reducing their workforce to cut costs and preserve profitability. Additionally, data points that cost pressures, including higher interest rates and rising capital costs, which make maintaining larger staffing levels more expensive and less sustainable. Another significant driver is the reshaping of workforce needs. Companies are increasingly rethinking which roles are critical, often opting to restructure teams, eliminate redundant positions, or shift toward more automation and technology-driven workflows. This reflects a broader trend where some traditional roles, especially in administrative and routine tasks, are being re-evaluated as companies modernize operations. Many of the cuts are less about a single fading industry and more about a structural recalibration. Firms are adjusting staffing to align with leaner, more agile business models. The layoffs aren't confined to one sector. The cuts span technology, services, retail, and beyond. This diversity underscores that the job losses are not solely the result of downturns in a specific field, but rather reflect economy-wide pressures, weaker demand, unchanged fixed costs, and evolving business strategies. For many workers, this means increasing uncertainty, especially in roles previously considered stable white-collar or office-based positions. In sum, the 2025 job cut wave emerges from a complex mix of weakened demand, cost, and financing pressures, and companies' efforts to restructure and streamline operations, often in favor of automation or leaner staffing. The result is widespread workforce reductions across sectors as companies aim to stay resilient in a shifting economic and technological landscape. The number of people in the United States holding more than one job has changed over time. It highlights a trend in the labor market where a portion of the workforce takes on multiple roles simultaneously. According to the data, the number of Americans with multiple jobs increased notably between the early 2010s and recent years. After a dip around the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, when economic disruptions and job losses affected many workers, the figure began to rise again as the labor market recovered and more workers sought additional income or flexible work arrangements. The most recent data points indicate that this multi-job workforce has climbed back to levels near or above those seen before the pandemic. This trend reflects broader shifts in how people work. Factors such as the growth of gig and freelance opportunities, rising living costs, and changing employer expectations have contributed to more individuals taking on second jobs, side gigs, or part-time roles in addition to their primary employment. Such work arrangements can offer financial benefits and flexibility, but they may also signal underlying pressures in the economy, such as stagnant wages or the need for supplemental income to meet household expenses. This data states that multiple job holding among U.S. workers has grown over the past decade, dipped during the pandemic, and then rebounded, illustrating evolving employment patterns and economic dynamics in the American labor force. The turbulent jobs market is also impacted by the increasing cost of living. The most common economic concern among U.S. adults is high prices and cost of living, with about 45% of respondents identifying it as their top worry. This reflects widespread anxiety over inflation, rising everyday expenses, and the overall affordability of goods and services, which remain prominent issues for many Americans. Housing costs are the second most cited concern. chosen by a smaller but still significant portion of respondents, underlining ongoing concerns about housing affordability and living expenses. Tariffs and trade issues also appear on the list, though less frequently than cost of living or housing, suggesting some public attention to broader economic policies that may affect prices and jobs. The chart illustrates that cost pressures, whether from everyday goods, housing, or trade-related price effects, rank above other economic worries for many U.S. adults. Overall, economic stressors tied to personal finances and affordability dominate public concern, reflecting how financial pressures are top of mind for a large segment of the population. We live in evolving markets, and some of the U.S. occupations are expected to see the largest growth in employment over the next decade, based on projections from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. These forecasts reflect broader economic, societal, and technological trends that are reshaping the labor market, especially as the nation's population ages and demand grows for healthcare, logistics, and specialized services. At the forefront of this shift is the healthcare sector, which dominates the list of fastest growing roles. Home health and personal care aides are projected to see by far the most substantial increase in job numbers, driven primarily by demographic changes like an expanding elderly population and rising demand for in-home care. Beyond healthcare, transportation, and warehousing occupations are expected to expand significantly, reflecting continued growth in e-commerce, logistics, and material movement needs. Roles such as warehouse workers and truck drivers are projected to benefit from this trend. This data underscores that the largest job gains in the US through 2034 are concentrated in healthcare and services that support an aging population, as well as roles tied to logistics and the evolving structure of the economy. In this course, we will have a critical analysis of the global labor market based on the latest findings from the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025. This isn't just another report, it serves as the definitive global benchmark, synthesizing data from leaders and businesses across the world to predict how employment will fundamentally change over the next 5 years. The landscape we are navigating is complex, shaped profoundly by unprecedented technological acceleration, persistent economic volatility, and major geopolitical and environmental shifts. Our objective in this course is to provide a structured, in-depth understanding of these dynamics. We will be dissecting the key trends that are driving transformation, specifically identifying those sectors and roles where jobs are being created and, conversely, where they are being displaced. Most critically, we will spend significant time outlining the essential skills, the cognitive, technological, and uniquely human competencies that will be necessary for individuals and organizations to thrive in this new landscape. This is more than just a forecast. It is a call to action for proactive talent management and strategic investment in human capital. Our discussion is systematically structured around 5 interconnected core pillars to ensure a holistic understanding of the future of work. We start with the foundational level, the macro trends. Here, we will examine the 5 global forces from technological disruption to demographic shifts that are fundamentally reshaping global employment structures. Following the macro view, we will zoom in on technology adoption, assessing the rapid integration of AI and other frontier technologies, and analyzing the significant operational and cultural barriers companies are encountering. The third, and perhaps most anticipated pillar, is the jobs outlook. We will provide granular detail on the structural churn, discussing the exact numbers of job creation versus displacement, and highlighting the fastest growing and fastest declining specific roles across various industries. Next, we will take a deep dive into the necessary skills for the future and the critical workforce strategies that companies are actively deploying to adopt, including massive reskilling initiatives. Our goal throughout this course is to move beyond generalities and provide a clear, data-driven, and actionable roadmap for preparing for the next iteration of the global economy